session is actually, ये जो session है, ये GENext, GEAR की GENext की team drive कर रही है, and we have a very dynamic person who is leading the GENext team, Jatin Sopra from Sopra International, and he's the one who is going to be talking about it. He's the one who is going to be validating and inquiring about what is happening at the global level when you're talking about sustainability. तो आप सबके लिए, especially mills के लिए भी एक area है कि where you can expand your knowledge. Whenever you can, please join us. I'll just start off making my quick introduction. We have 4 people on the dais with us on the panel side. We have Dr. Prabhu. He is the managing director of Balavigna weaving mills. He is one of the very few people who is the PhD in sustainable textiles, and he has the complete not only knowledge but is also practicing and working with industry, making sure that industry in the front end, brands or garment exporters are able to understand how to adopt to that level faster. We have Mr. Binay Chaudhary, who is the Managing Director and Chairman of Control Union. He is one of the person, very few I would say from the country, who is there at the global stage writing about how that traceability documents have to be done. So right from making the organic documentations to recycling documentation, how the complete traceability factor has to be adopted at a global stage. He's at one person on the panel. Thank you, sir, for gracing us here on this event. Then we have with us Mr. Sunil Pachar, who is the co-founder of Ecolive Ventures. He's the one who is driving the ECG and compliances at the factory level, जहाँ पे आपको अपने पानी को कैसे बचाना है, कैसे recycle करना है, अपना infrastructure किस तरीके से ESG compliant करना है. He is the one who is doing it. And we also have a very dynamic person, Mr. Dashmeet Singh, who is partner to this event. Dashmeet comes from a very different background altogether, being from investment banking. Now he drives his passion of working on the sustainable art. So somebody who is very passionate about recycling the materials and making the art from the sustainable side, something which can be on the walls, can be validated and there at various shows that you can see in various hotels and art galleries around the country. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us here. I'll let Jatin take over and do the question and answers for GENext on this panel. Thank you, Jatin, for being here.
Hi, good evening everyone. My name is Jatin Sopra and I'll be moderating this session today. Thank you, all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let me start off by saying international buyers are no longer satisfied with pledges anymore. So they want proof. So let me start off with Dr. Binay. Sir, if you can just tell us what are the most common sustainability requirements global buyers are asking for today?
Thank you very much. The global economy is changing. So when we talk about the fibers, and there are 3 processes people are looking for the future. One is how the footprint of the products is going forward. Second is that whether it is a natural fiber or a man-made fiber or a synthetic fiber, there must be sustainability. So how the sustainable drive should be? We know from our 1950s that how conventional driving force is operating. So we started looking into little bit organic textiles. So we are the first people who started talk about organic textiles. So organic textile is something called a very niche market. It is less than 1% in the world. So you may not be in that place, but to design your product based on the organic, you have the organic inputs, organic fiber, organic low impact dyes, chemical accessories, and that makes your organic standards compliance. Next 3 to 4%, which we call that regenerative agriculture or regenerative farming or regenerative processing. So everybody should know that what is called regenerative processing. It is between sustainability and the organic. So those 4% you will get if organic premium is 10 to 15%. So in regenerative premium you will get 3 to 5%, which is the demand. So you have to procure your regenerative materials, whether it is regenerative fibers or regenerative materials, different science, or regenerative processing. Then you come to sustainability. Sustainability, everybody knows that there are 3 lakhs definition of sustainability. So everybody create a story of sustainability in different ways. But the core stories of sustainability is people, product, profit, or social, environmental, and ecology. That we talk about that. So sustainability draws a no premium in the market, or they tell it is not by a choice, it is by preference. So you may not guys, so most of the factories need to prepare for a sustainability as a basic mark to make your product available for global market. And if you could design to regenerative, organic, and some other technical, social, environmental, then you can increase your premium in the market, make it viable.
Thank you so much, sir. Building upon that, sir, which fabric certifications are most trusted by international buyers today?
See, if you look into the fabric, there are 3 types you have to take from the material science of view. One is raw material. So raw material I have already told, these are the raw material preferences. But when you go to input management, so people are talking about what type of enzymes, whatever dyes, whatever the color, whatever auxiliaries, what are the salt that you are going to put. So recently in Tirupur market or the North India market, people talk salt-free dyeing. And if you look to the international market, waterless dyeing. So they go to a SDG goals where water will be conservating, energy is conserved, alternative energy is planned. So if you look certifications, the current certification process is respect to chemical management. So you will get Ocotex, people will talk about German market if you are going to do that, they will talk about Ocotex. There are 16 laboratories who test for Ocotex. If you go to US, they will ask you screen chemistry, blue cyan. So these are all the US market preference. And many buyers, they will look for JDSC preference, that is zero discharge hazardous chemicals. So if you preferentially put those into place, I think your fabric, I don't talk about many certifications, there are 300 certifications in the market, but don't go for, I always tell that certification is a necklace, but legislation you cannot forget. So what today's topic is that legislation. So if you go to US, the legislation comes as a New York Act. If you come to EU, it is a EU legislation, where you will talk about DPP, Digital Product Passport, you will talk about Green Claim Directives, you will talk about CSDDD, you will talk about UDR. So there are legislation based. So you must fulfill the legislation. Of course, there is a relaxation for 2030. So up to 2030, but India need to prepare ourselves. When I talk about a digital passport, it is not only for fiber. For each chemical ingredient, everything that make a product, you should have source to sink. That passport should be there, traceability. Whether you do by blockchain, if you ask for traceability, it is not only IT traceability people are looking for. They will ask you physical traceability, chemical traceability, biological traceability, social traceability. So there are many traceability parameters like isotopic evaluations, like enzymatic evaluations, chemical evaluations, that the buyers will be looking forward.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sunil, if I can just ask you, what infrastructure or documentation do manufacturers need in place to pass buyer-led sustainability?
Okay. Now, I'll probably go a little back around the theme. What is ESG? I'll first answer that because we are a ESG consulting company, but for last 4 or 5 years, I have seen that majority of us in India, at least we don't know what ESG is. Let me give you a background. If the businesses have been there for last 100, 150 years. When business started, all that we cared for is whether the business is profitable or not profitable. I'm talking from an investor's perspective. So investors used to care, are you profitable? Means earning was the only parameter to measure a business. So that's where you say tobacco industries flourish, because they say you make profit, casinos flourish. Our next stage came after 25 years, they said earning is not only important, quality of earning is important. The third stage in the early 90s came governance. They said quality of earning is not important, what if the board is corrupt? So the governance at a company level, and the governance they thought that 7-8 people sitting in a board would probably make sure that it is well governed. And real examples of companies did well on governance account is say Infosys. They had no background, but they led the industry in India, IT industry, purely on governance merits. Now let's come to 2010 or something like the 10 years back. There are 3 or 4 fiascos if you look at. BP oil spill, British Petroleum had an oil spill on the sea, and humongous amount of sea life and land creatures got affected, and the company tanked. Another example, Volkswagen used to be industry leader, but they found that you manipulated your emission norms, and the company lost its pole position. Now it's not there, Toyota. Similarly, Johnson and Johnson. So if you look around, there are different examples wherein you say they lost that leadership position purely on primary reason, environment. You are ruining the environment on account of growing. So Europe coined a word called as ESG. E stands for environment, S stands for social, G stands for governance. So it's basically you complemented G with 2 more parameters, and then Europe has mandated now that every quarter a company has to publish their ESG score, which is a cumulative score of E, S and G. Say hypothetically how much water you are using per person in a factory, even though you are making car. But you say how much water you are consuming per person, how much your people are commuting per kilometer. That's a social parameter. If your people coming from 100 kilometers, they don't have a quality of life. What are you doing for society? What are you doing in governance? Europe has by and large mandated clearly all big companies are now supposed to publish ESG scores, and those ESG scores are very specific to industry. A garment might have a different, electronics might have a different, but then you have to publish. And that's where for last 10 years Europe has been now going back, as Dr. Chaudhary was saying, it has earlier, even for 20 years India has been having energy audit, water audit, but everything was on paper. But with technology making inroads into all sectors, they say we want it to be traceable backward or forward. If you are saying I am consuming 100 liters of water but producing 100 garments, that data has to be visible. Live meter at your doorstep, and the factory data accessible in Europe or US, wherever you want it is in the cloud. So we don't want the data to be just saying on the paper, it has to be traceable everywhere. That's where now EC, and India has adopted a mini version of it last year, 2024 onwards. India has also mandated that the top 100 companies of Stock Exchange of India will have to report. They are not calling it ESG, they are calling it BSRP, Business Sustainability Report, by every. Eventually the canvas will expand, more companies will be brought into it. The message is very clear that if you are doing any business, you have to make sure that the environment is not harmed consciously and subconsciously. Do whatever you wish to do, but make sure environment is not harmed. That's where I've now come to the question which you asked. There are norms across industry. Say for I specialize into water harvesting. A unit has to have, make sure water harvesting is done. Make sure it is ZLD, zero liquid discharge. You can't release your emissions outside. You can't have unhygienic conditions for workers. The air quality has to be certain. My only request would be, please abide with whatever norm. There are solutions available in all forms for all sectors of industries. Maybe the era is gone where we could bypass them. Maybe it might continue for a few more years or maybe a decade. But the global canvas is changing. Buyers are expecting a supplier to meet certain norms, else they won't buy. That's the... Yeah, I said, actually if you go to in an Indian context, Panch Tattva hai, Pancho Tattva, air quality, water quality, human quality, soil quality, you have ether. So every space, you have to make sure that we are not ruining the Panch Tattvas in our karma.
Again, sir, building on that, is there a risk of sustainability becoming just another compliance checklist?
I
Or
don't-
does it really, affect you, or can you really make it into something?
Yeah, if you go back to my original thought, I said BP lost its pole position, Volkswagen lost its pole position purely on account of that. Now they are still into business. There could be scenarios where companies could straight away go, I mean, in Indian context, leave the political aside. The Sterlite copper plant was essentially, the plant itself stopped. So there are many examples like that, where we say, if you are found to be ruining it big time, you could be out of business. There could be political angles also, but I just said, why should you get into the, if you say, I'm into this business and I have to make sure that I follow all different norms, and it's feasible to do, not, there are many countries who follow it, so we can do it. Maybe, yeah, your cost increases, so you have to plan it, but I have seen it at a different angle. If you follow all norms, initially it looks like your cost is going up, but in the longer run, you are de-risking your business from any kind of risks for closure of business, and maybe you can increase your price, saying that we are, like say Dr. Chaudhary was saying, organic cotton. If you are saying, I can ensure backward traceability for my entire raw material and it is 100% organic, for sure you can command a premium on your product price.
Mr. Prabhu, what role can certified fabric suppliers play in helping garment exporters meet sustainability benchmark?
Organic, we are the first people in India. In 2004 itself, our company, Balavigna company, we certified under organic GOTS, GRS, OCS, all by controlling and that time, you see, normal cotton and organic cotton fabric prices is around 20 rupees difference is there. That time. Now everybody is doing sustainable and organic things very well. They are practicing and doing very well. So organic prices came down, and now we are charging around just 6 to 7 rupees per meter. So there is no difference between normal and organic. So people they should use 100% organic. Still we are pulling down prices also. People they use organic and sustainable. It will help our nature.
And sir, if we want to scale this across Jaipur's MSME, what tools or what support do we need to make this happen, sir? If you want to make it across Jaipur, if you want to do it across the cluster.
Jaipur itself, we are selling around monthly 20 lakh meters. In that, 10 lakh meters is the organic. Now we are explaining our buyers and other people why you are going for normal things. Example, some 60s cambric fabric is we are supplying at 52 rupees. Organic is 46 rupees. Just 4 rupees only, it's more. But you are saving our air, water, everything. Traceability also is there. So we are educating all our traders as well as exporters. Go for organic. If organic, if you are asking some prices are high, you can go for GRS also. Recycled material also, it's cheaper than organic. In this organic also, if you need some 50% organic and 50% conventional cotton, it's just 2 rupees more. It comes under OCS. OCS certificate we can give it to them. So buyer wise, they will get good premium on their this thing. Social wise, it's good for nature and community.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Dashmi, how are tools like digital product passports, blockchain, or QR-linked supply chain mapping being used to verify sustainability claims? Can you please help on that?
Mr. Sopra, I would say I would take up a more practical approach. Okay, of course, the topic is digital sustainable impact with the digital passports and the certification. But I will talk about the more practical aspect of, being a sustainable organization and how can we easily do it. Like Dr. Binay talked about, there are going to be 200 kinds of certifications, right? And it's like a garden, and it's not always very easy to get by either. Not also very. They're also very expensive from time to time. Also, Sunil talked about Panch Tattva, right? And caring about the environment. Really being practically out there and taking an initiative. So what we do at the art floor, we look at the more practical aspect of it. When I was traveling with Sunil across for the last 4 years to different hubs of textile manufacturing like Coimbatore, Erode, also Surat and Ahmedabad. So when I visit these factories, I would see the machines in operation. I would also see a lot of waste lined around, right? A lot of this waste would actually go into the landfills. Those landfills which are already filled. We all see these heaps and mountains of landfills across our cities, don't we? Right? So it was always in my mind as a creative entrepreneur, what is it that I could do as an international contemporary artist? I was an investment banker, but a lot of people ask me, what are you doing in the art world? I talk about, of course, sustainability, but also about investment art. So I'm creating investment art, I repeat, out of that very waste. So one man's trash is another man's treasure. So while Sunil was speaking to the owners and we were doing the road shows across with the BGMEA, which is the Bangladesh Government Manufacturing Export Association, for some of our shows in Bangladesh, some of these shows, I would go and look into those waste products, and Sunil would always ask me, "Yaar, kya kar raha hai?" Like, why are you looking at it? I said, wait, hold. We're gonna bring, so if you see the art floor X SOWTEX, right? So I said, let's become sutradhars. Okay, Sutra is dhaga and Adhar. Let's become the Adhar of sustainability. Let's create and show what is the real practical aspect of sustainability. There are 200 ways of talking about sustainability, as I said. So our way of showing sustainability is converting those threads, waste threads and yarns into utilitarian art products which are investable. Not only that, you all have your buyers who come down to your factories. You could show them their certifications, you could show them your digital passports, but what if you could show them an art piece which is on your corporate office wall, where it is like if I say the ABC of art, aesthetically beautiful conversation starter. It is a conversation starter for you saying, Sakshat ko praman ki zarurat nahi hai. We are a sustainable organization. This we did from our waste products. So that is my aspect or my way of thinking about driving sustainable impact in the textile industry.
That's great, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone from the panel, I would like to ask from GEAR, how can small and mid-sized manufacturers like all of us in Jaipur start their sustainability journey without that overwhelming cost?
No, very well. Like I told again, there are so many agencies are there. Even before having agencies over here, having they can get a certificate for the agency. The agency cost is very less only compared to industry. If I am taking certification for organic or GRS and other thing, we have a lot of this thing, 1,000 people are working on that traceability, other things are there. But in the case of agency, they are having their 4-5 staff, they are having, they can buy sustainable product from mills. They can trade to Jaipur exporter also. So it's a cost wise, it's very cheaper. Can
No, as he said that it is beautiful to see that integration, coordination and cooperation is the future stage. What we do together is the value that we give to our customers. So what he has created, I need not to recreate again. And that's what we have to do, that is number one. I give one small example that few years back, around 5 years back, we saw that Rajasthan is having lot of sheep and lot of wool, and that was going to carpet industries. And many wool is thrown away. And I was coming with a US buyer. He told that what we can do for these people. And these are all, then there was an international standard called Responsible Wool Standard, was prepared by us, and it was an international standard. And India was not applicable for them. The reason was that we have some wrong practice with animal, and that was not accepted. So we called these international people here to show that it is a traditional practice but not the wrong practice. And after that, the wool that is prepared in Rajasthan is going to bedding materials, filling materials, toys, all organic in nature. Now, though our wool is very coarse and very bad, but still competing with New Zealand and Mongolian wool. So we can create a difference if we work together with the small scale industries. But what is our problem is that we always recreate. What Balavigna is doing, I do another same Balavigna, then I compete each other, and the third party, the foreign buyers, they will always bargain with you for cents. And by bargaining, we put lot of pressure on technical, on material, we put pressure on social, like on our employees, we put also pressure on environmental front. And that should not happen with that. I think coordination and cooperation can increase this small holding or MSME to join with the big industries and to sell it out.
So what are the top 3 certificates global buyers are looking for today? If you can just jot it down, just 3.
See, if you look to the consumers, because buyers are driven by consumers, and based on the consumer, designers design the products. So that is the foremost. If you look Inditex, Zara, Inditex, so their cost point is that if a consumer likes a product and it is in the store, in 45 days, they give you order and it will be placed in the retail store. So there, the design that has been created with a time slot. But most of the places, India makes sustainable product, but we do not write, like he has told ESG. We do many things, but we do not tell how to put ESG into place. So I think India look to be more of integrations work, to give a storytelling. As you said, you have told that storytelling has why this bottle cost 60 rupees, why this bottle will 7 rupees. And that storytelling with our product value, with our work is more important.
Mr. Sunil, if you can just help me, how can Jaipur fashion's ecosystem work together to build a reasonable, sustainable identity like Tripur or Panipat? How can we do it, sir?
So, I'll answer it in a very layman term. I'm not from the garment industry. I'm a computer engineer, but for 7 years, I am into sustainability and water conservation. The rule number 1 is just follow common sense. You don't have to go anywhere. When I started my journey, and I realized India was predominantly organic before 1970, but they didn't know what organic is. Some of you might be from a rural background, the animal waste used to be dumped right outside your house. 12 months it used to mature. After 12 months it used to go to your farm, and farming used to happen. So the ecosystem was entirely organic. Somewhere it got. Similarly for water, I just said Jagat built 400 years back. They could make 10 lakh liters of rainwater harvesting structure 400 years back, but we can't make a 10,000 liters today with all technologies around. So follow the common sense. And then when you go into your factories, I would say, now if you see the title circular, this is a very catchy phrase, circular economy, which has been coined around ESG. What it is saying is follow in the circle. I'll come to a very simple example. Those who have, हमारे यहाँ जब कपड़े बनते थे पहले बड़ा पहनता था, फिर छोटा पहनता था, फिर फट गया तो पोचा बन जाता था, बैग बन जाता था, और उस फटे हुए का भी वो गुदड़ी बना देते थे राजस्थान में. That was circular economy. What it is? But now what are you saying is, if you want to follow circular economy, the rule number one, when you start building your product, make sure you are designing it properly. So there is a catchphrase called as material wise. Be wise about the material you are going to choose for your product. Rule number one. Rule number two, design waste out. Now these are terms applicable for any industry. When you are designing a product, make sure you have minimal waste out of it. I was sitting with this automated solution guy. They ensure that there is minimal wastage because they can simulate beforehand. So you go and use technology which can let you have a minimal waste out of the output. Then the third one is extended producer responsibility. Now if you have made a product, you only know whether it has cotton, how much linen, how much what. And the world has mandated, Europe and everything, they say your product responsibility doesn't end at the point of sale. If you have made a device, if I made a mic, I know what metal, how much aluminium, how much plastic is inside. When it goes end of life, I should buy back and recycle. That's where if you go to H&M, they say if you bring your old cloth, we will give you some credit or some bonus. That's what? That's EPR. You go to a Samsung, Nokia, Apple store, they say bring your old phone, we'll give you credit of 100. So if you can implement a EPR kind of a framework in your product, go to a supplier, okay sir, whenever we will take that product back after end of life because we know how to make use of it. These three simple things in an industry, and I would say the last and about, make awareness sessions every frequency, whatever you want to do it. Come together, what you have learned, I need not relearn by going into putting my head into the soil. I should learn it straight away from you. So let's learn as a team. And the awareness session or these kind of frameworks are the best way wherein one can learn from all others whatever they've learned.
If you want to future-proof our business, like we want to continue this.
Yeah.
What are the risks of not adopting to traceability or ESG compliances? What are the risks?
I would be very blunt. There is a risk of business closure. Let's say forget about compliance. Like Jaipur, I know because I come from this part of the. Today the water table is at 700 feet. 30 years back it was at 100 feet. Now without water no industry can work. If after 10 years what if there is no water under the earth? Will your business survive? No. Now if you say no, what will happen if I do it and my neighbor doesn't do it? You don't have to go beyond your walls. You say I am doing with integrity whatever am I supposed to do, be it rainwater harvesting, be water recycling, be ZLD. Together if we all do it we can revive it back. If we don't do it, yes, there is a risk, and I see the risk right in front of me because I work in the industry. Our adoption levels, particularly in India, as far as the environment parameters, are very, very low. I see a big risk, personally speaking.
So let's say Jaipur wants to become India's top hub for verified sustainable fashion exports by 2030. So what one system level change we need to make today to move into that direction? System levels.
So the first thing I can relate to Dashmi, if the industry, I heard it somewhere also, Jaipur garment or some carpet manufacturer got together and they said, we will handle our waste responsibly. If you as an industry can say the entire element of waste going out from any factory is put to a right use and you make a story out of it which goes globally viral, then you are on the world map. Can you make it happen? Yes, it can be done, but you have to all put together your heads, come into a meeting room, get the expert and say, hey, I generate this kind of waste per day, you generate this kind of, this is the quantum of waste Jaipur as a city is generating and we are going to put it to a best use, it won't go to the landfill, make a story out of it and you are done.
I'd like to add to that, stories sell, facts tell. If we all in our businesses somewhere are storytellers, Pied Pipers. And if you could create a story of what Sunil just talked about, and if you could get industry support, if you could unite on that particular front, then that certain fact that businesses are going to close if there's no water, a simple thing. can be avoided, must be avoided, and we must unite to make that happen through sustainable impact. Then this is what this communication is all about. It's not about कि हम यहाँ बोलकर चले गए, हमने इसके आगे जाकर steps क्या लिए. We are, the Gen Next is sitting over here. Our parents, our grandparents have worked so hard to create those enterprises, those institutions. It is blood and sweat that they poured into it. So again, what is an investment banker doing in this world? Serious work. We're becoming the sutradhars of really making an impact with the simple thing as using waste to create something utilitarian, something that can drive the message of sustainability, something that is even more impactful than a digital passport or a certification, or equal when your buyers walk into your showrooms and experience centers.
So just want to add to it, not in that context, our human brains are supposed to work as per story and not numbers. I can give you hundreds of examples like this, and this is apolitical. Like in Delhi, they said a dog bite, a boy got killed. Now if the number churner would say, oh, there are 50,000 dogs in Delhi and in 365 days one dog bite happened. But that doesn't work. COVID, you said thousands of people are walking around to reach Bihar and Jharkhand. That's a story. So positive or negative, our brain, human brains anywhere around the world only understand story. So you as industry work to create positive stories. That's the success mantra.
Thank you everyone. Anyone would like to ask any question to the panelists here?
About recycling and other thing, we Balavigna group working with our RAL products. RAL products they have running different factories for knitted and ovens. We do ovens with them. Knitted, it's around their waste is around monthly 4 lakh kg. Now, what we are doing with them is we are collecting the knitted waste. From knitted waste, making yarn is very easy, recycled yarn. We are using our own weaving waste also. 80% it's knitted waste and 20% own waste we are mixing. And we are making the yarn 10s and 20s. It's around 1400 to 1500 CSP. That yarn we are making special bags for them, and that itself from recycled material we are charging more only, not less. So in Jaipur we have plenty of industries there. You can jointly collect all the waste, make the yarn. You can supply any sustainable thing, whichever buyers your buyers require.
True, sir, true. Thank you all so much. We would.
Thank you so much for sharing such a beautiful information with us. So you mentioned about the mixed yarn, which is the organic yarn with the normal yarn. So what will be the processing results of those fabric? If we compare it with the normal fabric, after dyeing, printing the results, what would be the results? There will be any peeling issues and all those things? All those will be controlled with that kind of fabric?
About organic fabric.
Yes, you mentioned about mixing yarns, like organic with non-organic.
Conventional also you can mix it.
Mixing all these.
It's organic and conventional both in from the farms, and as per standard only we are going to manufacture.
So the result remains the same. Final result.
Same.
I will add to your questions because he's expert, so he has prepared his own formulas. So what type of waste you are using, that is more important. If he is going with cutting waste, then he knows what is the strength of the waste, and when he is doing the tearing practices, he knows how much he is getting it. And based on that, he knows what counts he is going to produce. So they know the strength, they know the product, So based on little bit tuning, he has his own research to do that. So I think if you look to the waste that is generated in Panipat or Rajasthan and many other areas, this is already the technology available, the know-hows are there. Only thing, what product you are going to make, what counts you are going to make, how strength it is good or how palatable to the market is there. That segregation, the industry will help. Or when we wrote the global recycle standard was written by me in the year 2006. And when me and my colleagues, we wrote the standards, we started talking in a very vague word. Why we should have a recycle standard when people are doing recycle by themselves, right? All these yarn mill, they were taking combinal, again get back. So recycle is a normal phenomena, as he clearly showed that we throw our shirt, our next generation wear it. But we thought into that when recycle happens, you don't need to grow the cotton. How much time you save? You did not to know how much 1 kilo of cotton, you have 10,000 liters of water you just saved by making 1 liter of 1 kilo of cotton recycled, right? So one way he is getting premium, but the other way, how much you have contributed to this earth. That is more important. And regarding quality, I think most of the consumers in European Union, they use the product between 15 to 25 times. And if you give a product which lasts for 25 times, the circular economy design is there, as that's enough.
Any more questions, anyone?
Good evening. That was a wonderful discussion and it was a beautiful insight all the panelists gave. We just want to understand where India stands globally in terms of ESG or sustainability, at what rank we are there, and what is the path for us to improvise and be a global leaders into this one. And because see, we don't have any standards. How much carbon emission is going to come with this. There is no formula with us. Nobody knows what I am doing with this. What is my carbon emission? What is my wastage? What is my effect to the environment? No guidance is there. Guidelines is there. As a common man, we don't know nothing about these things. So can anybody have a data or how it is?
So honestly speaking, if you ask me on a scale, we are way behind as far as ESG parameter. And one of the reason is there are two school of thoughts even in the governance in India. One school of thought is saying ESG is a scam. There are pros and cons of every side. One side say it's a mechanism to control the suppliers. So somebody has mandated that now henceforth you have to follow the ESG norms without giving them preparedness. So probably we lose our advantage as a supplier. So that school of thought. The other ones are saying it's a good one. Predominantly ESG as of now is mandated within EU. So EU is far ahead as far as all other part of the world are concerned. Even US also doesn't follow that model. So, and with Trump in place, he has outrightly rejected climate change effects and those kind of things. So, but as I said, for last 3-4 years, there was word going on that India should also follow ESG. So we've kind of found, as usual in all subjects, we have found a middle path. Rather than taking ESG as it is, we say business sustainable report, and let's not burden the smaller companies. Let's fix it for the top 1,000 or 100 companies. Maybe next year they will increase the net to maybe another 2,000 companies. But they are still vague because we have not quantified the metrics. Eventually, you have to quantify that if you are a garment manufacturer, how much liter of water you are consuming per unit of your, or how much labor is going into, how much energy is going into it. Many of these things are not straight away measured. Energy, luckily, India is moving ahead at a very good pace, and migration towards renewable is also happening, and that's a quantifiable data. So in energy space, I see significant progress happening across all the industries because it's a real data. Hey, this much is the renewable energy I am generating every day. That's a measurable and visible to everybody. Water and waste side, I would say we are not even on a scale. We are far behind. We don't even, majority of the places, we don't even measure how much water we are extracting for the earth. We don't even measure how much we are recycling, where the water is going. So those are the grey areas which we have miles to go as of now.
See, if you see in Africa, Africa is a very, very backward country. Most of the countries where I have traveled, they have a system. Borewell cannot be dug by individual. Anybody who is digging a borewell, it is through government process. It has to be given to the central water supply, and from the central water supply only they will supply. But in India, we don't have, anybody can drill a hole anywhere. Even next house to house, they don't have a coordination, you know. My house, I have a borewell, next house is also having a borewell.
So to add to your question, 70 years or 80 years back, we made a rule that we have to drive on the left hand side, but till date we have not been able to enforce. People drive on both sides, and when I travel around the world in my IT era, they used to, foreigners used to laugh at two things. One, that we don't know which side is strictly not to be driven on, and second says in India we don't know whether the guy is saying yes or no. We say yes, no, both is, so we do many things with our neck, and the other person doesn't understand whether it's a yes or no. But you're right, so that enforcement lack is there in many of the spaces, not even in a borewell. Be it your pollution norms, be it your STP norms. When I go around without naming, 70 to 80% of the STPs are dysfunctional. 95% of the rainwater harvesting structures are dysfunctional. Though there has been norms since 2001 that every household has to make a harvesting, every factory has to make. But that's how we are. Maybe some other times I say, with that kind of chaos only we are used to, and we grow because of the chaos. So in a chemical world, there is called the higher the entropy, and then the higher the velocity. So maybe that entropy is adding to our, in the local term we call that the jugaad is making things happen, and we are kind of growing. But as an environmentally on my side, I see, sometimes feel sad that, particularly for water, I feel sad that without water there is no life, and we are taking water for granted, left, right and center.
Sunil, I'll just add to, I just remembered you had a friend over today. And this is my closing statement, a little emotional one at that. Like a fabric is very, delicate. The nature of planet Earth, the environment, that fabric is very delicate as well. One of his friends was here today, incidentally, who had moved from Delhi NCR to Jaipur. And I asked me why, how has it been? He said that Delhi की जो life नहीं, गुड़गांव की जो life थी बहुत धुआं था. So my wife was not really very comfortable, but she's moved here. You should also move, because यहाँ आके she's much better. But my concern and question to you, the leaving while we close this panel discussion is, हम कहाँ तक भागेंगे? ये हमारी responsibility है. It's our responsibility to really take this up. Be it certifications, be it passports, be it supporting art and artisans, be it recycling, upcycling, creating those concepts, making statements out there, but really doing it. It's our responsibility, because this is about our loved ones,
The positive part is that we are number one in organic and recycling. So that's, we should be proud. Though there are a lot of negative points on that, India knows how to do jugaad. So today, if you look at, we are producing almost 3 crore 30 lakhs bales of cotton in India, and all cotton, Indian cotton, is known as mixed cotton, because आज कोई Shankar 6 नहीं है. गुजरात में Shankar 6 people are talking. There is Shankar 6 as a variety. Today, if you ask Pima cotton, Pima is a variety, hybrid. And if you call Egyptian cotton, it's a variety. That is known for as a premium cotton. But India, हम लोग इतना mix कर दिए हैं, हम लोग अभी उसका mix करके बोलते हैं Shankar 6, DCS 32, वो भी mix हो गया. So the question is that we have done a good jugaad, and if you look to the India scenario, 99% cotton under GMO, genetic modified cotton, which should not be declared as organic. But हमारे पास 30-40 certification body declare कर दिया organic, somebody has declared, and we sell it as organic. So I don't see good and bad prospects. I don't comment who is good, who is bad, but If India will coordinate each other, we have so many brains, you know many things, she knows many things. If we sit together, we will beat this world, that's for sure.
Any more questions?
One more. Very good discussion. I just want to go a little more deeper. Since we are talking about ESG, sustainability, organic, recycling, just to be more specific, only apparel and textile industries in globally, which are the countries who's already taken an initiative on these activities and they are being and leaders for this currently? I just want to know.
You want on sustainable textile or?
Yes.
See, today India has strived as a raw material sourcing. We are the leader in raw material sourcing. And Mr. Dr. Prabhu will agree with me that we supply to Bangladesh, even to other countries on organic. So we are leader in organic and we are leader in recycle. But question is that we are giving in the form of raw materials, either in cotton or yarn or fabric. But if you go to Bangladesh and China, who is the two top leader in the world for the finished product. So they take your raw material, they make the finished product, they get the branding. So branding lies with them and you are a great supplier for a raw material. This is the difference what I could.
So that's what I asked, sir. You know, we are lacking majorly in infrastructure. And that is what I said, you know, one system level change that we need to bring up. And we are really lacking behind from Bangladesh. Even if you know, country, we are a much bigger country, but still we are far behind them.
Yes, this is the point.
Our knowledge is very higher than any other countries. If you go China, some 30 days before I was there, he showed me a cotton. He asked me which is natural cotton and which is man-made cotton. And I saw, I could not feel the difference, to be very frank. The reason is that they're technically sound and the knowledge was done from us. They took the cotton varieties from India, they improved, and their cotton is 10 times harvesting than us. So my request to that, the foundation is done by India, but people have improvised there and they get the benefit. And if we create a lot of startups, we are always blaming government or the financial partners that we don't have any resources. But we should have an intent to do. And if we have intent to do, we combine the resources. And if we combine the resources, we beat the technology. And if we beat the technology, we become the leader.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we'll be wrapping up the session now. Thank you to all our esteemed panelists here for sharing such insightful perspectives. It's clear sustainability is no longer an option, it's the future way to go. And thank you all so much for your passion for the work you guys are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was a very, very insightful session. I think सब लोग जो यहाँ पे बैठे हैं, there was a lot of takeaways from this session, I'm sure, and there are certain things that we can implement also. Thank you so much everyone for being here.